The TTPS is warning citizens against the use of excessive force in matters of home invasion. Of course, none of this comes as a surprise to those of us that read the Stand Your Ground legislation. At the time of consultation, Minister of Defense said, shoot first, kill first. You could shoot somebody in the back once they have a gun. Kamla Persad-Bissessar on the campaign trail continued to talk about empty a clip. Citizens had the right to defend their castle, and none of us disagreed. None of us disagreed with the fact that citizens had the absolute right to do whatever necessary to defend their homes. I did a video when Kamla Persad-Bissessar spoke about emptying the clip. Many people came out against her. I supported it because I said, if something happened and somebody came into my home, I was not waiting to find out, or I'm not stopping to think about the force to be used. You enter my home, I am going to do what it takes to take you down. That is the mentality of a citizen. But our current law did not allow us to have that mentality. If my husband protected our home with everything that he had, he could very well land up in prison for 20 years waiting for his day in court to prove that he acted in self-defense. And the Stand Your Ground legislation did nothing to stop that reality. And we said it. But the noise, UNC has this, they've mastered the game of noise. They tire us out. They shout loud so no one can hear the reasonable criticisms. No one wants UNC to fail. A failure by UNC means lives lost in Trinidad and Tobago. If you do a media search, you will see that the reports of home invasions, they're not any less. In fact, it appears to be more. A simple count shows to me some 190 something. If I take anything that looks like a home invasion reported through the media in 2025, we're at 216 and we haven't finished 2026. Which means the Stand Your Ground legislation has not worked to curb home invasion, the crime of home invasion. And this morning, the TTPS has confirmed what we have been saying. The law does not give citizens the right to shoot first and kill first. It does not give citizens the right to shoot an armed intruder in their back. It does not. If someone comes into your home and they have turned their back to flee the scene, you cannot. You can, but then you will sit in jail and hope you have the money. Hope that you have good lawyers. Wait on the Privy Council before you could be out on bail, before you can be heard. What would that do for your life in the meantime while you are trying to prove to a judge and that you were acting in self-defense? We wanted the law to go further. We wanted the law to give that immediate immunity to the homeowner. But the noise of UNC, the noise of their social media team, did not allow good, constructive conversation to happen. It did not allow proper consultation. And that is the problem, Trinidad and Tobago. Reasonable voices are being drowned out. So when it should have been 1 million citizens standing and saying to UNC, no, we reject this law. People were saying, give it a chance. Reasonable citizens were saying, give it a chance, give it a chance. No. The law gave a false sense of security, and it also manipulated citizens into thinking that the UNC was doing something when they were doing nothing. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you have changed from burglary, larceny, robbery to home invasion. That's semantics. That is semantics. I don't care which law somebody being charged under. That is technocrat behavior and does not do anything to solve the real everyday problem being faced by citizens. Trinidad and Tobago, I am calling on you guys to stop, to drown out their noise. I'm calling on those influencers that are being paid. You are selling your soul for 30 pieces of silver. Stop contributing to their noise. Stop contributing to the manipulation of our citizens. The safety and security of our citizens demand respect. It demands honesty. It demands a government that will really put their heads down and do the work, not manipulate us, not tire us out into silence, not threaten us into silence. We need real results. We need real solutions that will deliver those results. We need a government that will be humble to listen, to really consult with us. Trinidad and Tobago, we have to wake up. And I hope that this is a wake-up call this morning to the right-minded citizens that are being played. Because UNC played with our emotions. They knew we were desperate to get rid of Rowley. They knew we were desperate for somebody to fix crime. And they played with our emotions. This is a wake-up call. Use your voice, however, whichever way. I know that this state of emergency has us afraid to speak out. Use your voice. Find a way. Because this cannot continue.
Hey guys, be short and sweet. Good morning. So, you're trying to tell me a bandit comes into my home to rob me, possible harm me, rape me, whatever, violating my personal space. And the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service going to put out this warning the citizens, the law-abiding citizens that is in their home minding their own business, that if bandits should decide to break and enter their homes, that they still, the victims still have to be mindful in how they defend themselves, because if it is proven after the investigation that the victims use excessive force to defend themselves against the bandits that illegally entered their home, they could be faced with criminal charges. The Prime Minister say empty the clip and the police telling you, don't do it. I fed up. I real fed up of this bullshit. Because you can't watch me and tell me I can't defend myself. If somebody enters my home, you wasn't invited, and I will deal with you proper. I dealing with you because you come to deal with me. You understand? So it's one of we had to go, two are we going. I don't really care what happened after that. But nobody ain't coming in my house and violate me just so, and I go just sit down and take that because I studied what will happen after. This country.
Stand your ground does not mean shoot on sight. The TTPS has issued an important clarification. Citizens have the right to defend themselves, but the force used must be proportionate to the danger they honestly believe they are facing. If an armed intruder breaks into your home and threatens your life or your family, the law may justify serious and potentially deadly force. However, someone simply jumping into your yard or trespassing does not automatically give you the right to kill them. The questions will be, was there an immediate threat? Did you reasonably believe you or someone else was in danger? Was the force used necessary and proportionate? Did you continue using force after the threat had ended? Every incident will still be investigated, and the person claiming self-defense must be able to withstand legal scrutiny. Stand your ground removes a duty to retreat in qualifying circumstances. It does not provide immunity from prosecution or turn private property into a free fire zone. So defend yourself when necessary, but understand the law. One reckless decision could transform a victim of crime into an accused person.
So so apparently this stand your ground law has limits, right? The government win a election on this entire stand your ground law, right? The irony is that now they're telling you, right, that how they don't limit you to having a cutlass already, to just, they don't limit you. The whole law is so ironic, right? Instead of they fix the problem, they come up with a law that tell you, well, here what? We do all we could, so you're on your own now, so go buy a cutlass. So while you standing there with your cutlass and your home invaders running inside the house with guns and shit, automatic weapons, and you have a little cutlass and probably a pot of pillar on the stove to defend yourself with, right? The government, the police now telling you, well, remember, it have limits. So even if you manage now to get hold of one of them criminals, probably the one with all the gun, right, to use your cutlass on, you could still get locked up. You could still get charged. You understand? Right? You understand? Because it does not give anyone unlimited authority to use force. So here they say. So let me analyze this. Let me put this in layman's terms. So I in my house cooking my pot of pilau, right? And taking a little shot. And some men now with fully automatic weapons run inside my house. And I throw the hot pot of pilau on top of one of them and plan to see next one and accidentally chop off his head. Right? And these fellas with these fully automatic weapons want to shoot my ass and my family. And I gonna get charged, right, for defending myself, even though it have a stand your ground law. Make that make sense, somebody, because I out of ideas. I don't know, right? We have a SOE in place, right, which already failed, and it's just the government we are saying, well, we don't know what else to do, so we just gonna regurgitate the last administration ideas and try to make them our own. And then the law, what it is they win the election with, and yet still you can't get a FUL license. They give you a cutlass to protect yourself against criminals with fully automatic weapons that floating in from Venezuela, which the government refused to flicking stop, by the way, which they still ain't get a handle on how the guns come in the country. They may know, but everybody else know, every Tom, Dick and fucking Harry know, beside the government. Right? And you there with your little cutlass and your little pot of pilau and probably a little shot of punching. How to defend yourself. And you might get charged too. And risk gain lockup. Risk facing the getting charged with the same criminals and with the same people and them who will invade your house. I still trying to make sense of it. Anyhow, have a good day, right? Don't take me on. I just saw nobody with a cup of coffee. Peace.
News, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is reminding citizens that while the country's home invasion law gives occupants the right to stand their ground, it does not give anyone unlimited authority to use force. TTPS Media Ambassador, Acting Sergeant Devon Jagroup, said self-defense is intended to protect citizens who face an immediate threat, but the response must remain reasonable and proportionate. He said the law recognizes that people may have to make split-second decisions when protecting themselves or their families.
Well, reasonable force is force that is proportionate to the threat that you face. The law does not expect you to respond with mathematical precision in a life or death, split-second moment. It looks at when you honestly and instinctively believe that what you did at the time was necessary to protect yourself or your family.
Under the Home Invasion Act of 2025, he said occupants do not have to retreat from a home invader if they reasonably believe there is an immediate threat. But he said there are limits, and force can become unlawful if it is grossly disproportionate or turns into retaliation.
There are definitely limits. It's not a license to kill. Force cannot be grossly disproportionate. Furthermore, the defense does not apply if you are engaged in criminal activity, if the person that is entering has a lawful right to be there, if you know that there are police officers executing their duties lawfully, or if your judgment is substantially impaired by voluntary drug or alcohol consumption.
The acting sergeant said anyone involved in a home invasion confrontation should first get themselves and their family to safety, avoid touching or tampering with anything, keep clear of any weapons, and prepare to give police a full statement. He said each incident will be investigated based on...
Good morning, WP
Hi, good day. My wife called this morning, probably about 2 hours ago, to report a home robbery. We had called the E999. They said that they would call the station, but nobody else has called us as yet.
Okay, so what you all doing? Saying that home and waiting for the police to call all you? You don't know where the station is?
Excuse me?
Do you know where the station is?
There were 18 home invasions for this year already. How many of you heard about? There have been in the past so many home invasions that have never ever made it to the news, but one local white family in West Moorings, and it becomes a national issue. I don't care what you say about the circumstances. I'm talking generally, generically. There have been news reports. Persons have come into our office and spoken about how gangsters have taken over their home, not even invade the home and run out. Run in the home and stay. Set up camp inside the home. The owner of the home goes to the police and tells the police, there are gangsters in my house right now. They're criminals with guns and drugs. And the police do not go. Not once, not twice, multiple times. And there was one case on Nelson Street where an elderly man was actually being interviewed by TV6 explaining that his home was invaded, criminals came in, took over it, ran him out. He went to the police and the police refused to go. Again, not once, not twice, but multiple times. So is it now that it's happened in West Moorings that home invasions are going to be started to be taken seriously by our national security services? Because they weren't been taken seriously before at all. And we can bring forth multiple witnesses to verify that. What is it with this social class distinction and discrimination in this country? What is it about us in this society that makes us believe that the street criminal who steals wallets and snatches gold chains is somehow less moral than the high office holder who's a criminal who's stealing from the national treasury? What is it with our double standards in this society that we see one as unworthy to be scorned, shunned, imprisoned, and have the key thrown away, but the other one can have excuses made for them for their criminal behavior as elected officials in our national offices? And then the double standards continue. We're talking about Ukraine now. Because I saw on the news that our government is looking to locate the Trinidadians who are out there in the Ukraine and bring them back. Beautiful, we support that 100%. But up to yesterday at the Kwame Ture Center, the father of one of the young people who are in Syria came to visit us in pain hearing about our government looking to bring back the Trinidadians in Ukraine, but all the other countries from all around the world have brought back their citizens from Syria who went over there for the conflict that was taking place. But I have been reliably informed that there are still 12 Trinidadians that are trying to get back home and are being ignored out of Syria. And the father of one of them came to visit us yesterday. And he's puzzled. How is it that they're bringing back Trinidadians from Ukraine? Is it because it's the popular thing to do right now? And America and England and France and Germany and all these countries all over the world are talking about getting their citizens out of Ukraine, so we're doing it too. What about those of us who are still in Syria now as we speak? The ISIS conflict has ended a long time ago comparatively, and we still cannot bring back our Trinidadians.
Hey guys, be short and sweet. Good morning. So, you're trying to tell me a bandit comes in?
Stand your ground laws. Stand your ground laws. Let me explain that. At the moment, the law is a man invades your house or a woman invades your house, cutlass, weapon, gun, whatever it may be, and you have to use something they call reasonable force. Man coming with gun in your face and you must do nothing. Nothing. I propose that we adopt the stand your ground legal principle that will be inserted into our law. This means putting into our laws the legal principle that allows a person to use force in self-defense without retreating. This principle is also called castle doctrine. Maybe your home is your castle. The castle doctrine. And it states that individuals have the right to use force, including deadly force, to protect themselves and their families from intruders. This law will protect homeowners, occupiers of property, business owners, any property. This law will help. When they use force, they can use deadly force against any intruder who unlawfully and forcibly enters their residence. Trinidad and Tobago, when we pass this law, under the UNC, will join over 28 states of the USA that have adopted this Make My Day law. Stand your ground, protect your family. So let's get rid of this wicked, incompetent bunch as soon as possible. We have to be on.
They're being targeted multiple times by extortionists for $30,000. She said the straw that broke the camel's back was when the gangsters threatened her son and her mother's life. She received 2 voice notes threatening her and her family's life after a man showed up at her business place demanding money. One of the voice notes read, "We don't know where your son does go to school, and we know where your mother does stay. So don't let it reach to that. Organize with 30,000 now." The head of the anti-extortion unit, Richard Smith, said that one major gang is responsible for the extortion contributions in North and Central Trinidad. Smith said that one major gang that sits in between the 2 districts are leading the crime of extortion, which is being copied throughout the Caribbean. Smith blames this on gang activity and says that they are trying to dismantle the gangs. Chamber officials said that a lot of people are frightened to report these crimes to police, and people are opting to close down their businesses or migrate. You know what funny? The TTPS always claim to have intel, and they always know the gang behind the crime, but nothing is ever done about it. What about the business people who are being affected because you all fail to act? The funny thing is the TTPS always has this aggression when dealing with the citizens of this country, but they're quick to tuck their tails between their legs when it comes to the criminal element. And Richard Smith, I know you could be a beast, a fully dunce, because you had no problem attacking me back in the days when I was a TV6 cameraman, taping a protest on Freedom Street when they killed the Robocop brother. You had...
We have a news roundup for you this morning. Bomb threats, crime and economic concerns dominate today's news. The continuing wave of bomb threats, questions surrounding the police commissioner and troubling crime statistics are among the major stories engaging the country today. Now, the Prime Minister has urged the population to remain calm following several bomb threats targeting courts, government buildings, and other locations. We are yet to see the evidence of this. Security agencies remain on alert as investigators attempt to identify those responsible. Meanwhile, questions continue to surround Police Commissioner Alistair Govero's emergency leave. The government has reportedly remained silent about the circumstances, increasing public demands for transparency at a time when national security is under intense scrutiny. Crime also remains a major concern. Police statistics indicate that 210 home invasions have been recorded, while a Tobago businessman was reportedly assaulted during a recent invasion. These incidents have renewed debate about citizens' rights to defend themselves and the legal requirement that any force used must be proportionate to the threat. In other national developments, approximately 8,000 new passport booklets have arrived in the country. However, sources indicate that applicants may continue experiencing delays. Several ministers and members of parliament have also reportedly been named for failing to submit required integrity declarations. That's a story to follow up on. On the economic front, the Inter-American Development Bank expects the country's growth to remain subdued in 2026. Although the energy sector recorded modest expansion, the non-energy sector contracted. Not surprised at all. Dependence on volatile energy prices, rising debt servicing costs, and a weak economic diversification remain serious concerns. Regionally, health authorities are continuing their response to the recent earthquake in Colombia, while a powerful earthquake has also struck southern Peru. You need to check my videos on the earthquakes. Estimates placed its magnitude between 6.7 and 7.2, prompting authorities to urge residents to remain vigilant. Internationally, Russia has launched another major missile and drone attack on Kiev, reportedly killing at least 15 people and injuring dozens. Tensions have also increased after Romania destroyed an explosive carrying naval drone near a strategically important Black Sea glass platform. So, for the country, Trinidad and Tobago, the key issues to monitor are the bomb threat investigation, the status of the police commissioner, the alarming number of home invasions, and the country's uncertain economic outlook. So we're going to keep paying attention to these stories. We're going to bring you updates as soon as we have them. Don't forget to follow the page if you have not yet done so, and share the video with your family and friends if you find it interesting and valuable. Yeah?
For a raise, they finally won, and they still don't have the money. Let's go back to where they started. For years under the PNM, public servants was offered 4%. 4% for a bargaining period stretching from 2014 to 2019. Colum Imbird stood in parliament and said any more than that would wreck the economy. Workers said no. Unions fought back and they took it to court. Then the UNC came to the election and promised workers 10%. Workers believed them. They voted and the UNC won. And in December 2025, the agreement was signed. Signing the agreement and getting the money are two completely different things. WASA workers submitted their proposal in January. 8 months later and management did nothing. Talks broke down at midnight. Workers ended blocking the compound entrance. PSA members waiting on $3.8 billion in back pay still can't get a meeting with the CPO. And TSTT workers haven't had a raise since 2019. 7 years, while the company just posted $240 million in profit. The best performance in 17 years. There's a budget deadline in October. Any negotiations not completed by then gets pushed back another full year. That means another Christmas without back pay. Another year of watching prices rise while your salary stays the same. Another year of being told to wait. These workers kept the country running through a pandemic. They showed up every single day. And right now they're being processed like paperwork. PNM offered 4% and called it generous. The UNC offered 10% and called it justice. It's a promise on a campaign platform and money in your bank account are two completely different things. Workers don't need more promises. They need somebody to pick up the phone, sit down at the table, and finish work.
There I saw an article where a young woman found a newborn baby abandoned in a box in South Oropouche. So the same person that found the baby returned to the police station and told the police that the baby is hers. Venezuelan woman who said she found abandoned baby returns to police and says newborn is hers. South Oropouche baby mystery takes twist as finder claims newborn is hers. A stunning twist has emerged in the case of a newborn baby girl who was found abandoned in a cardboard box along a roadway in South Oropouche. EN News has been reliably informed that the 23-year-old Venezuelan woman who initially claimed she had discovered the baby crying inside the box is now saying that the newborn is her daughter. The woman reportedly returned to the South Oropouche police station and told officers that the baby is hers. According to information reaching EN News, the woman allegedly told police that she did not want people living at her home in St. Mary's Village, South Oropouche, to know that she was pregnant. She reportedly concealed her pregnancy from the other occupants of the residence. Her admission has dramatically changed the direction of the investigation, which initially centered on identifying the person responsible for abandoning the newborn. The baby girl was reportedly discovered around 12:15 p.m. on Thursday, August 20th, near the South Oropouche Government Primary School. At the time, police were told that the woman had been walking along St. Mary's Road when she heard what sounded like a baby crying from a cardboard box at the side of the roadway. She reportedly checked the box and found a newborn girl inside a black plastic bag. The infant was unclothed, had her umbilical cord still attached, and was wrapped in a blanket. The woman then took the baby to a nearby residence before both proceeded to the Oropouche police station. At the station, the baby was placed in a diaper and arrangements were made for her to receive medical attention. Emergency response personnel subsequently transported the newborn to the Point 14 hospital. The pediatrician examined the baby and estimated that she was approximately 3 to 4 days old. Medical examinations found the infant to be in good health with no obvious signs of physical abuse. The umbilical stump was not actively bleeding, although dry blood was observed around the umbilical area and lower limbs. No bruising or scratch marks were observed. The baby remains warded at the Point 14 hospital and is reported to be in good health. Following the woman's latest disclosure, police are now investigating the circumstances surrounding the baby's birth, the reason for the alleged concealment of the pregnancy, and what happened before the newborn was found in the box. The woman was subsequently taken for medical treatment by police. Investigations are continuing by officers attached to the South Oropouche police station and the Child Protection Unit based at the station. The Children's Authority has also been notified and is assisting with
the beautiful people of Trinidad and Tobago. It's been long, guys, you know. When the kids are around, then everything seems to have stopped. So in today's video, I want us to talk about the recent home invasion in Trinidad and Tobago. And I want you to imagine this situation whereby you are inside your home, relaxed, you are very peaceful, you know, and you don't even think about anything happening. Then, of course, the doors are locked and your family, your entire family is around. So suddenly there is a sense of security breach, you know, and or rather there is a security breach. Then because probably someone, of course, as when there is a breach, that means that someone has entered that particular home that you always believed that it was your safest space. So of course you'll be frightened, you'll be shocked and in fear, and you'll be like, oh my God, if you cannot really feel safe inside your home, then where else are you supposed to feel safe? So this is a particular concern that now surrounds home invasions in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's not just another simple crime story. You see, guys, when these particular criminals enter your space or your home, they're not just taking your property, you know, they are invading your personal space, right? They are invading your privacy, and, you know, they are invading the security. So sometimes I can tell you they're even invading your peace of mind, because your peace of mind will be disrupted. You know, all the time you'll be like getting these heart attacks. So I want us to start with what we actually know about the story. Recently, we've seen clips going around, a story on home invasions, whereby I will take this case, you know, is one of those that has actually been talked so much about recently. So this home invasion incident, it has attracted attention after the TTPS, you know, commented on the situation. And of course, as you all know, any police response, any police comment does matter a lot. And because you see, this particular story is happening against a wider backdrop of concern about home invasions across the entire good island. So recently, I would actually, okay, you see, in May this year, the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago reported that 69 home invasions had been reported so far. I mean, it had been recorded under the new legislation. And the police had also charged 25 people under that particular legislation that had been formed to actually mitigate that problem. So this is clearly not a conversation about an isolated headline. It's a broader issue that seems to be developing and that seems to be dealt with. And of course, it's one of that many, this particular story is one that many residents are actually trying to follow closely to see how it's going to be dealt with. So Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, or the TTPS, it has been trying to clarify what the law actually means for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that clarification is very important, because you see, fear in itself, it can lead people to make assumptions about what they are legally allowed to do during a home invasion. So the TTPS media ambassador, acting Sergeant Devon, he emphasized and that, you see, this particular law, it does not give occupants unlimited authority to use force. The response has to be reasonable and proportionate to the threat faced. So the distinction is extremely important for all of us, and I can tell you it's not just a simple message. You see, someone has entered your house, so anything can happen at that particular point. So at this point, what the law is saying, or what the TTPS are saying, is that it's about protection within the boundaries of the law. I mean, you should not take the law into your hands, but at least act reasonably. And that is something that all of us need to understand. But then, imagine you being a parent there. Your children are sleeping. Your family is there in the home, the entire one. It's very late in the night. And then suddenly you hear something very unusual, probably footsteps, and you hear like it's like someone is touching the door, trying to open it. Probably you're hearing something outside that does not sound normal or right. Of course, your first instinct is not going to be about statistics. It's actually going to be about family. Is my family safe? That's the question that you'll ask yourself. And that's what makes home invasions so psychologically frightening. A robbery on the street is, of course, already frightening, but when someone enters your space while you are there, that feeling only can be completely different. Imagine someone, a stranger, in your bedroom, in your kitchen, in your children's room, the place where you relax after a long day. That is your private space. And then in this private space, someone has actually entered. I mean, that particular situation, it's not like it's nice. So if you look at what we really need to talk more about, it's that part whereby many people are talking about or trying to get answers. I mean, how do you rebuild that sense of security? Is it possible? Because you see, a police investigation can actually identify a suspect. If you go to the court, they can determine who is guilty or who is not guilty. If you look at conviction, it's answering accountability part. But then there is another issue, and that issue is about the fear that remains afterward. Because if you look at a family, it will continue checking their doors. It will continue being very keen about every entry and exit point. They may probably become more cautious about visitors. They may become suspicious of unfamiliar activity around their neighborhood. and an entire community can begin to feel different. That is why home invasion is not simply about stolen property. No, it can change how people experience their neighborhood, their space. So if you look at the bigger picture, I know it's an important statistical issue, but historically, home invasions were not always recorded as a separate category. In Trinidad and Tobago government's policy paper, it actually noted that previous incidences could fall under categories including robbery, burglary, and break-ins. That would mean that comparisons with older crime figures have to be handled carefully. So the introduction of a specific home invasion legislation, it will give the authorities a clearer framework for identifying these incidences whenever they happen in Trinidad and Tobago. So in May, the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, it actually showed that dozens of reports had already been recorded since the law came into effect. So one of the questions that we should ask ourselves is if the people, are talking about home invasions anymore or not. I mean, we should also ask ourselves what is actually happening on the ground. Anyway, the question that we should ask ourselves now is not just about if people are talking about home invasions anymore, but we should be talking about what is actually happening on the ground. That is where accurate police data becomes extremely important. But then, there is this point whereby the story gets even more concerning, because why is it that the people of Trinidad and Tobago are still worried about people entering their occupied spaces? I mean, what about the communities? Are they receiving enough reassurances? Are the police responding quickly enough when these incidences are reported? If you talk about investigations, are they identifying repeat offenders? If so, what are they doing? Do ordinary people actually feel protected? These are the questions that are uncomfortable, but they need to be answered because they are necessary. Because you see, public safety is not just about the numbers. It's about public confidence. People need to believe that when something goes wrong, then help will come soon. They need to believe that investigations are going to be taken very, very seriously. And they need to believe that their communities are not being forgotten. So, to do with the issue of responsibility for communities, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, of course, they remain to be alert and concerned. If something genuinely appears suspicious, then reporting it is going to help really, really faster. And the TTPS itself, if you look at what they're saying, is that they're encouraging the members of the public to report any suspicious activity, and also they are encouraging the members of the public to provide channels for reporting incidences, probably through the village elder and all that. But then there's this important issue about being vigilant. That doesn't mean that we need to confront suspected criminals. It neither doesn't mean that we should take the law into our own hands. It does not mean that we should turn neighborhoods against one another. No. After all, the safest approach is to alert the authorities and let trained professionals handle the situation. So the real test now is what happens after the headlines disappear, after people stop talking about it. Will these investigations lead us to accountability, clearer information? Will the police visibility improve? Those are the questions that ordinary people want to know, because that is ultimately what people want. They don't want to see the arrests, statements, and press conferences here and there. They want to feel safe wherever they are. At the end of the day, if I may conclude what in our video today, a house is supposed to be more than the four walls that, or probably it depends with how many walls it has. You see, it is where families sleep, it is where families spend time, it is where people have the worries of the outside world behind. So when someone invades that particular space, the damage can go so much deeper than whatever property is taken. It can actually leave people wondering, can I really feel safe in my home? And this is why this conversation that we are doing today matters a lot, because it's not just about a house, it's about raising, or rather it raises a bigger question about security, the policies in place, the confidence. Anyway, guys, I don't know what you think about these home invasion stories in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.